So I'm finally getting some work done on the 8.8. I started just stripping off all the old brakes, the calipers, the rotors, then the old brake lines, e-brake cables, all that stuff's in the trash now. I also tried to straighten out the backing plates a little bit. I thought I had bent them up, just moving the axle by myself, but looking at the video, going back to me pulling it from the junkyard, it looks like they were already bent just from being moved around the junkyard by the forklift or whatever. But no big deal, got them straightened out a little bit better, and they look much better. Eventually got fed up with messing around with the brake lines and started cutting stuff off. I have all new going on it, so it doesn't matter. So I just used my cheap little 4-inch angle grinder with a cutoff wheel to cut these brackets off. That took a lot longer than I thought it was going to. I've been thinking about getting a plasma cutter for a while now, and this pretty much convinced me that if I do another axle swap, I'm getting a plasma cutter. Can definitely be done with an angle grinder though. Right here I was using a wire wheel on the axle just to clean it up a little bit more. And also I was really trying to get down into the corner of the tube and the axle housing so I could weld it later. Alright, so I got all the brackets cut off. It looks like I nicked into the tube in a couple of spots just where I was trying to get, so flush with the cutoff wheel, but that's not a big deal. I'll get these ground down smooth, and then I'll fill in any little cuts with the welder, and it'll be fine. When it came to welding the little cuts in these tubes that I had made with the angle grinder, I would just, weld a little bit on one side, then I would go to the other tube, weld a little bit on that one, and I would switch back and forth, rotate the axle, just trying to keep the heat not built up in one area and potentially warping anything. Spreading that heat out a little bit. There's a lot of wind noise in this section of the video just because I had all the doors open and the fan on because of the welding fumes. All the little nicks are filled in from the angle grinder. While I got some heat in the tube, I'm going to go ahead and put some heat in the center section of the diff and weld the tubes up while I got the welder out and everything. When it came to welding the center section to the tube, I used my map torch and heated it up as best I could. I really need a bigger torch to do this, but I was able to make it work with the map gas. I heated it up to at least 300 degrees, all the way around evenly, and then I would weld 1 inch of tube, rotate it all the way over 180 degrees, weld 1 inch on the other side. Then I would switch to the other side, heat that up, weld 1 inch, rotate 180 degrees, weld 1 inch, go back to the other side, etc., and just kept going back and forth. Again, trying to keep the heat spread out, heated evenly, and just avoid potentially warping something or making a weak weld or cracking something. Just trying to be smart about it. It is cast steel. After I was done, checked the whole thing, make sure it was fully welded all the way around. It looked good. Wrapped it up. Alright, I'll let that cool off real slow, wrapped up in the welding blanket, and then we'll see how it looks. Alright, it's the next day. Let's take a look at this. Oh yeah, looks perfectly fine. So I am using flux just because my welder is a 110 machine and I can get much better penetration with flux core than I can with gas. So with gas, my welder is rated up to 3/16, but with flux it's rated up to 5/16. So in this case I stuck with the flux core. There is some some spatter on it, but that's to be expected. And I knew I was going to be grinding the tubes again, just because I knew I was going to have to grind down where I welded the little cuts that I had made with the angle grinder. But it looks pretty good. Obviously I'm not a professional welder and I need to do some more cleanup, but I think those welds are going to hold no problem. Alright, there you go. What you see is what you get. Not a professional welder, but it's going to be just fine. Alright, this axle's ready to be swapped in. I was going to combine this video with the actual swap of the axle, but I decided to keep this video separate on its own just so, there's a video about how much work and prep there is to get something like this, get an axle like this ready to be swapped into a vehicle that it was never in originally. It also gives me a little bit more time because I've been traveling for work lately and I haven't gotten that much done. So next video I'm going to do the body lift, the motor mount lift, and the rear upper shock mounts for the Jeep. That way there will be nothing stopping me from getting this axle swapped in and getting the pinion angle and everything set up correctly. That motor mount lift is going to slightly change the angle of the output shaft on the transfer case, so I want to just go ahead and get that done beforehand. I don't think you need the body lift to do the rear upper shock mounts that I have, but it'll make it easier and give me more room to install those. So next video will be that, working on the Jeep. We'll get that taken care of, and then the week after that, this axle will be swapped in, hopefully.